Copy. To just get a confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer that the Impulse 4 burn was done successfully. The Impulse 5 burn should be coming up in about a minute. It will be a 5 and a 6. And then that will place the Soyuz just about 400 meters away from the station. Then it's going to execute a fly around, going from underneath the station up to the top, looking back down, as it's going to be eventually docking to that space-facing side of the station itself.
The range is 1.2, the rate is 3.8.
And getting our first look now, this view from the Soyuz looking up at the station. As it starts to catch a little bit more sunlight, that'll firmly come into view. The numbers to really pay attention to, down in the bottom left corner, the top one you can see 1.099 kilometers. That's the range away from the station. Just beneath that, the meters per second, that's the closure rate. So right now we're closing at about 3.5 meters per second.
The range is 1 kilometer and the rate 3.4. DPO activation is confirmed and the braking is in progress. Copy.
Скорость 2,5.
So the range is 900 meters and the rate is 2.5 meters per second. Copy.
Дальность 800, скорость 840, скорость 2,3.
The range is 840, 840, and the rate is 2.3. Copy.
Дальность 800, скорость 2,2.
The range is 800, the rate is 2.2, the braking is complete. Vanya, could you please use AGC mode? Stand by.
Скорость 2,2.
The range is 750 and the rate is 2.2.
So inside 750 meters, another good confirmation Impulse 5 burn has been done successfully.
4806, I am sending AGC command. Do you want me to do it again? Yes, let's do it again and again. Well, maybe one more. Now let's leave it like that. So the range is 660 and the rate is 2.2. Copy.
And there we have a great view of the Soyuz MS-16 continuing its approach to the station.
Yeah, let us,
this is a camera looking from the bottom down back towards planet Earth. Soyuz going to continue to approach at this angle and eventually execute a fly-around maneuver once it gets about 400 meters away from the station.
Copy. Yes, let's leave it like that, Ivan. The range is 600, the rate is 1.4. Copy. We're standing by for the close distance approach. And we are standing by for proximity ops.
And the visiting vehicle officer here in Houston confirming Impulse 6 is done. That's the sixth and final impulse burn, just fine-tuning and beginning to break the Soyuz approach to the station. Next milestone is going to be that fly around once it gets to about 400 meters away.
So the range is 520, the rate is 1.4.
It's just 120 meters to go, and then they'll start executing that fly around. That'll essentially be about a half loop from the bottom of the station all the way up to the top side, where Soyuz will eventually orient itself with the docking probe pointing back down towards Earth as it moves in on the space-facing side docking port known as POISC, or the Mini Research Module 2.
The range is 460, the rate is 1.3. Copy.
Дальность 420, скорость 1,2.
The range is 420 and the rate is 1.2. Copy.
Again, we're coming up on that 400-meter point, and then right after that, we should hear the beginning of fly around.
Дальность 400, скорость 1,1.
The range is 400 and the rate is 1.1. Fly around is confirmed. Copy. Fly around.
And confirmation the fly around has begun.
Yes,
So we're going to see the Soyuz spacecraft begin to swing its way from the bottom over top of the International Space Station.
The range is 370. The rate is 1.1. Copy.
Дальность 350, скорость 0,8.
The range is 350 and the rate is 0.8.
Дальность 330, скорость 0,9.
The range is 330 and the rate is 0.9.
Дальность 310, скорость 0,75.
The range is 310. The rate is 0.75. Copy.
Дальность 300, скорость 0,75.
The rate is 0.75.
метров, скорость 0,63.
The range is 280 meters and the rate is 0.63. Copy.
You're just now tuning in. You are looking at the Soyuz MS-16 spacecraft. 3 crew members on board, NASA's Chris Cassidy and Cosmos cosmonauts Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner. They're in what's known as the fly around right now. They closed in to 400 meters away from the station. They're still getting a little bit closer, but primarily this maneuver is done to bring the Soyuz from the bottom of the station up to the top. It's all in the name. It's the fly around. That'll eventually line it up with its docking port known as the POISC module. Once it finishes this fly around, we'll enter into a period of what's known as station keeping. That gives a chance for the automated system on board the Soyuz to finish fine-tuning that alignment before they begin the final approach.
250 meters is the range and 05 is the rate. Copy.
А, 240 метров, 0,4.
The range is 240 meters and the rate is 0.4.
метров, 0,36.
The range is 235 meters and the rate is 0.36. Copy.
метров, 0,25.
The range is 230 meters and the rate is 0.25.
метров, 0,2.
220 meters is the range and the rate is 0.2. Copy.
This camera from the very forward end of the Soyuz keeping the station right in the middle of its crosshairs. And this actually giving us a really good view of its eventual docking port. If you look just above the middle of the crosshairs on that center line, it's perfectly splitting the Russian segment of the station right now. To the left is the Pirs docking compartment with the 74 Progress vehicle currently docked, and just to the right is that empty Poist docking port. That's pointing back into space. It's on the zenith side of the Zvezda service module, and that is where this Soyuz is bound. So it's going to continue this pirouette around the station until it has that Poisk right in its crosshair. We'll begin the station keeping so it can fine-tune its alignment, and then we'll begin the final approach.
метров, 0,1.
210 meters is the range and the rate is 0.1. Copy.
метров, 0,1.
The range is 209 meters and the rate is 0.1.
метров, 0,7.
The closing range is 208 meters and the rate is 0.7.
метров, 0,05.
The range is 206 meters and the rate is 0.05. Copy.
метра, 0.
oblique angle, but by the time it's done with this fly around, it will be right over top of that Poisk module looking straight back down. Seeing a couple of thruster firings as it continues to fine tune in this fly around maneuver. Right now maintaining a distance of about 200 meters as it begins this roughly half circle over top of the station. Right now both vehicles flying over the northern part of South America, right over Colombia, about to cross over the border between Colombia and Venezuela, and then eventually moving out over the Caribbean. Again, this entire operation right now being done automatically. An automated rendezvous system on the Soyuz, the cores communicating with antennas back on the station itself.
Range rate 0.1.
Приняли.
Copy.
Mina Percy, and welcome back to Earth from Space. Today, the Copernicus Sentinel-2 mission takes us over Victoria Falls, one of the greatest natural wonders of the world. Victoria Falls, known locally as Mozi Oitonia, or the smoke that thunders, lies along the course of the Zambezi River, on the border between Zambia to the north and Zimbabwe to the south. The Zambezi River flows for around 3,500 kilometers from its source on the Central African Plateau and empties into the Indian Ocean. In this image, the river cuts from left to right before plunging over Victoria Falls, visible as a white line. While it is neither the highest nor the widest waterfall in the world, Victoria Falls has a width of around 1,700 meters and a height of over 100 meters, which classifies it as the world's largest sheet of falling water. Despite recent reports of Victoria Falls drying up, the Zambezi River is subject to large seasonal fluctuations, with water levels rising and dropping dramatically throughout the year. The water from the Zambezi River then continues and enters a narrow, zigzagging series of gorges, visible in the bottom right of the image. The town of Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe can be seen west of the falls. The town of Livingstone, named after the famous Scottish explorer, is visible just north of the falls in Zambia. Its airport can be seen west of the town. The circular shapes in the image are an example of an irrigation method called pivot irrigation or center pivot irrigation, where equipment rotates around a central pivot and crops are watered with sprinklers. The Copernicus Sentinel-2 is a 2-satellite mission. Each satellite carries a high-resolution camera that images Earth's surface in 13 spectral bands. Data from the Copernicus Sentinel-2 can help monitor changes in land cover. And that brings us to the end of this edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the European Space Agency channel. I'm Romina Percy from ESA Web TV Studios, and thank you for watching.
Since 1970, the world's population has doubled, from 3.5 to 7 billion human beings, and it is still continuously rising.
AM Eastern, 14:16 GMT. As of right now, the Soyuz spacecraft on final approach.
Дальность 107, скорость 84.
Range is 170 and range rate is inaudible.
Дальность 153.
Range is 153. Range rate is 0.85.
Дальность 140.
Range is 140. Range rate is 0.85.
Дальность 130, скорость 07.
Range is 130 and range rate is 0.7. Copy.
120, скорость 07.
Range is 120, range rate 0.7.
Ваня, 110, скорость 05.
110.
Can you see it? Он левости головой. Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, I can see it. This is Chris.
Дальше 100, скорость 0,3.
Range is 100, range rate 0.55. Copy.
So the Soyuz now just about 100 meters away from docking. That range rate continuing to tick down. Right now they're closing about a half a meter per second. That's going to go all the way down to about 0.1 meters per second when they get real close to that final approach. We'll see the contact and capture of the docking probe on the very front end of the Soyuz spacecraft.
A sophisticated Earth observation satellite fleet in the world, called Copernicus. The Sentinel-2 satellite is just one of them. In fact, a very good one, to make our world a better place.
Range is 50 and range rate is 0.2. Copy. And stand by for SSVP docking and interim transfer system command activation. Standing by. I confirm SSVP docking and internal transfer command activation. Probe is extended, latch is extended, hooks open, SSVP system is ready, copy all.